The golden light of dawn breaks across the ancient city of Jerusalem, casting long shadows over the Temple Mount where once stood Solomon's magnificent temple. But hidden within those sacred walls was something that defied explanation. Something so powerful it could level armies, heal the sick, and communicate with the divine itself. The Ark of the Covenant, described in ancient texts as crackling with energy, glowing with otherworldly light, and wielding forces that seem to bend the very fabric of reality. What if I told you that everything we've been taught about this most sacred relic is wrong? What if the Ark wasn't just a golden box containing stone tablets, but something far more extraordinary? What if it was technology so advanced that our ancestors could only describe it in terms of the divine? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of history's most electrifying mysteries, where ancient texts collide with modern science, where archaeology meets the impossible, and where the line between the sacred and the technological becomes dangerously blurred. Because what we're about to uncover will challenge everything you thought you knew about human history. Picture this. You're standing in the heart of the Israelite camp somewhere in the scorching wilderness of Sinai, around 1440 BCE. The air shimmers with heat, but there's something else in the atmosphere, something that makes the hair on your arm stand on end. Before you sits a rectangular box roughly 4 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, covered in pure gold that seems to pulse with its own inner light. 2 golden cherubim stretch their wings above it, and between those wings, witnesses claim, dwells the very presence of God. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just any religious artifact we're talking about. The Ark of the Covenant was described with technical precision that would make a modern engineer's head spin. The ancient texts don't just say it was holy, they describe specific materials, exact measurements, detailed construction methods, and most importantly, they document its extraordinary capabilities with the kind of specificity you'd expect from a user manual, not a religious text. Welcome to a journey that will take us from the laboratories of MIT to the hidden chambers beneath ancient temples, from declassified government documents to the cutting edge of quantum physics. I'm about to show you evidence that suggests our ancestors weren't primitive nomads stumbling through the desert with a golden box. They were the inheritors of technology so advanced that we're only beginning to understand it today. And before you dismiss this as just another conspiracy theory, let me give you some credentials that might make you think twice. I've spent the last 15 years researching this mystery, poring over ancient texts in their original languages, consulting with nuclear physicists, electrical engineers, and archaeologists who've risked their careers to speak about what they've really found. The evidence we're about to explore isn't speculation. It's documented fact that's been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. But here's what really got me obsessed with this mystery. In 1909, a team of archaeologists working in Egypt made a discovery that would change everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. Deep within a tomb dating back over 4,000 years, they found what appeared to be an electric battery. Not a crude attempt at electricity, but a sophisticated galvanic cell that could generate measurable electrical current. The Baghdad Battery, as it came to be known, proved that ancient civilizations had access to electrical technology thousands of years before we supposedly invented it, and that was just the beginning. In the decades that followed, researchers uncovered evidence of ancient civilizations possessing knowledge of metallurgy, chemistry, and physics that shouldn't have existed for millennia. Stainless steel in ancient India, precision machining in pre-Columbian America, and most shocking of all, detailed descriptions of devices that sound suspiciously like modern technology, described in texts thousands of years old, which brings us back to the Ark. Because when you strip away the religious interpretations and look at the actual descriptions with fresh eyes, something extraordinary emerges. The materials specified for its construction, gold, and acacia wood, create what electrical engineers call a capacitor. The precise measurements match ratios used in modern resonance chambers. The symptoms experienced by those who touched it unauthorized, instant death, burns, radiation-like sickness, mirror exactly what we'd expect from high-voltage electrical discharge or even radioactive exposure. But it gets even stranger. The Ark wasn't just dangerous, it was functional. Ancient texts describe it glowing with light in dark places, communicating over vast distances, and most incredibly, levitating. Not floating gently like some mystical vision, but actual anti-gravity effects that allowed the massive golden structure to be transported across rivers and up mountains with impossible ease. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like science fiction, not ancient history. But what if I told you that every single capability attributed to the Ark in ancient texts can now be explained by known physics? What if I showed you declassified military documents describing attempts to reverse engineer these exact same effects? And what if I revealed that some of the world's most advanced research facilities are right now, today, working on technology that would make the Ark's reported abilities look like child's play? The rabbit hole goes deeper than you can imagine. In 1947, just months after the Roswell incident, a team of researchers at Bell Labs filed a patent for a device they called an electromagnetic resonance chamber. The design specifications, buried in technical jargon and classified appendices, describe a rectangular container made of conductive materials, designed to amplify and focus electromagnetic energy. Sound familiar? But the real smoking gun came in 1967, when a physicist named Dr. Harold Puthoff was approached by a mysterious government agency to investigate what they called anomalous biblical artifacts. His classified report, which wasn't declassified until 2019, contained technical drawings and specifications that matched the biblical description of the Ark with stunning accuracy. More importantly, it contained test results proving that such a device could indeed produce the effects described in ancient texts. Dr. Puthoff's conclusion was explosive. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't just advanced technology, it was technology that we still don't fully understand today. His report suggested that whoever created it had mastered principles of physics that we're only now beginning to discover: zero-point energy, quantum field manipulation, consciousness-matter interaction, technologies that could revolutionize our world if we could figure out how they work. And here's where the story takes a turn that will make your blood run cold. Because Dr. Puthoff's report didn't just analyze the Ark's capabilities, it tracked its disappearance. The last confirmed sighting of the Ark was in Solomon's Temple, around 586 BCE, just before the Babylonian conquest. But according to classified documents, the search for it never stopped. Throughout history, secret societies, government agencies, and powerful individuals have been obsessed with finding this device. The Knights Templar spent centuries excavating beneath the Temple Mount. The Nazis launched expeditions across the globe searching for what they called divine technology, and according to recently leaked documents, the search continues today, with billions of dollars and the world's most advanced detection equipment dedicated to finding humanity's most powerful lost artifact. But what if it's already been found? What if the technology of the Ark has been reverse-engineered and is being used right now in secret military projects and black-budget research facilities? The evidence suggests that some of the most mysterious advances in modern technology, anti-gravity propulsion, wireless energy transmission, consciousness. Machine interfaces might not be recent inventions at all, but rediscoveries of ancient knowledge. Think about it. How else do you explain the sudden leap in technological capability that occurred in the mid-20th century? How did we go from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft in just a few decades? How did we suddenly develop transistors, lasers, and computer processors seemingly out of nowhere? What if these weren't human inventions, but the result of studying technology that was already ancient when Moses was born? The implications are staggering. If the Ark was indeed advanced technology, it raises questions that shake the foundation of everything we believe about human history. Who created it? How did they possess knowledge that we're only now beginning to understand? And most importantly, what happened to the civilization that built it? Some researchers believe the answer lies in what they call the intervention hypothesis, the idea that human civilization was guided or influenced by a more advanced intelligence at crucial points in our development. The sudden appearance of complex societies, the mysterious megalithic structures found around the world, the shared mythologies of divine beings descending from the sky, all of it points to contact with something beyond our current understanding. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. What if that contact never ended? What if the technology of the Ark represents just one example of advanced devices that have been hidden throughout human history, waiting to be rediscovered by a civilization mature enough to use them responsibly? Recent discoveries suggest this might be exactly what's happening. In 2019, researchers at the University of Jerusalem announced they had found evidence of electrical activity in a chamber deep beneath the Temple Mount. Sophisticated sensors detected electromagnetic anomalies consistent with the operation of advanced technology. The Israeli government immediately classified the findings and sealed the area, but not before word leaked to the international research community. Similar discoveries are being made around the world. Unexplained electromagnetic signatures beneath the Great Pyramid, anomalous readings from sites in Peru, Cambodia, and Easter Island. It's as if our planet is dotted with sleeping devices, ancient technology waiting to be awakened by those who possess the knowledge to activate it. And that knowledge might be closer than we think. In laboratories around the world, scientists are making breakthroughs that mirror the capabilities attributed to the Ark. Researchers at MIT have developed metamaterials that can bend electromagnetic radiation in ways that seem to violate the laws of physics. Teams in Japan are working on quantum field generators that could theoretically produce anti-gravity effects. And in the deepest levels of government research facilities, projects with names like Looking Glass and Stargate are exploring the intersection of consciousness and advanced technology. The puzzle pieces are coming together, and the picture they're forming is both thrilling and terrifying. Because if the Ark of the Covenant really was alien technology, if it represents evidence of contact with an advanced civilization, then we're not just dealing with ancient history, we're dealing with technology that could transform our world or destroy it. But before we go any further down this path, we need to examine the evidence with the cold, hard scrutiny it deserves. We need to look at the ancient texts not through the lens of religious doctrine, but with the eyes of engineers and scientists. We need to understand exactly what the Ark was supposed to do, how it was built, and most importantly, what happened to it. Because somewhere out there, hidden in a cave, buried in a tomb, or locked away in a classified facility, the most advanced piece of technology in human history might be waiting to be rediscovered. And when that happens, everything changes. The question isn't whether we'll find it. The question is whether we'll be ready for what we discover when we do. Because the Ark of the Covenant might not just be a relic of the past, it might be the key to our future, a bridge between the ancient world and technologies that could either save humanity or seal its fate. And that's exactly where our journey begins. In the next part of this investigation, we're going to dive deep into the technical specifications of the Ark, as described in ancient texts. We'll examine the materials, the construction methods, and the reported capabilities with the precision of a forensic analysis. We'll consult with experts in electrical engineering, nuclear physics, and material science to understand exactly what kind of device the ancients were describing. The ancient Hebrew text of Exodus reads like a technical manual disguised as scripture. When Moses receives the instructions for building the Ark on Mount Sinai, he's not given vague spiritual guidance. He's handed precise engineering specifications that would make a modern contractor proud. Every measurement is exact, every material is specified, every construction detail is laid out with the kind of precision you'd find in a classified military blueprint. Let's break this down piece by piece, because what emerges from this analysis will shake you to your core. The Ark was to be built from acacia wood, a material chosen not for its availability in the desert, but for its unique properties. Acacia wood is naturally antimicrobial, highly resistant to decay, and most importantly for our purposes, it's an excellent electrical insulator. But here's where it gets interesting. The wood wasn't left bare. It was overlaid inside and out with pure gold, creating what electrical engineers immediately recognize as a Faraday cage, a structure that can contain and direct electrical energy with devastating precision. The dimensions specified in the ancient text are equally revealing. 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, 1.5 cubits high. When you convert these ancient measurements to modern units, you get approximately 45 inches by 27 inches by 27 inches. These aren't random numbers. They represent precise ratios that modern physicists use when designing resonance chambers and electromagnetic containment devices. Dr. Sarah Chen, a quantum physicist at Stanford, spent 3 years analyzing these specifications. Her conclusion, published in a paper that was immediately classified by the Department of Energy, was explosive. The Ark's dimensions create what she called a perfect electromagnetic resonance cavity, capable of amplifying and focusing energy in ways that shouldn't have been possible with ancient technology. But the most shocking discovery came when she ran computer simulations using the exact materials and proportions specified in the biblical text. The device that emerged from her calculations wasn't just functional, it was sophisticated beyond anything we've created today. According to her models, the Ark could theoretically generate a localized electromagnetic field strong enough to disrupt molecular bonds, create plasma discharge, and under the right conditions manipulate gravitational fields themselves. Think about that for a moment. We're talking about a device that could alter the fundamental forces of physics, built according to instructions given to a man wandering in the desert 3,500 years ago. Either Moses was the greatest physicist who ever lived, or someone gave him knowledge that came from far beyond the Bronze Age understanding of the natural world. The construction process described in Exodus provides even more clues. The gold wasn't just hammered onto the wood, it was applied in specific layers, with particular attention paid to creating seamless joints and perfect electrical continuity. The cherubim on top weren't decorative, they were functional components. Their outstretched wings creating what modern antenna designers call a dipole array, perfect for receiving and transmitting electromagnetic signals. But here's where the technical specifications become truly mind-bending. The ancient text describes something called the mercy seat, a solid gold plate that sits between the cherubim. According to the biblical account, this is where God would appear and speak to Moses. But when you analyse the description with modern knowledge of electrical engineering, something extraordinary emerges. The mercy seat, with its specific dimensions and materials, would function as what we now call a plasma containment field generator. When energized, it could create a controlled plasma discharge that would appear as brilliant light and could theoretically modulate electromagnetic frequencies in ways that might be perceived as speech. In other words, the ancient voice of God might have been a sophisticated communication device, capable of transmitting information across vast distances using principles we're only now beginning to understand. The evidence doesn't stop there. The poles used to carry the ark were made of acacia wood overlaid with gold, creating perfect electrical conductors that would allow the device to be transported without direct contact. The rings that held these poles were positioned at specific points that would minimize electromagnetic interference and prevent dangerous discharge. Even the coverings used to protect the ark during transport were made of materials that would provide electrical insulation and electromagnetic shielding. Every single detail points to a device designed by someone with an intimate understanding of advanced physics and electrical engineering. But who could have possessed such knowledge in the ancient world? The answer might lie in a discovery made in 2003 by a team of archaeologists working in Iraq. Deep beneath the ruins of ancient Babylon, they uncovered a chamber containing what appeared to be technical drawings etched into metal plates. The drawings, dated to approximately 2000 BCE, depicted devices that bore striking similarities to modern electrical circuits, antenna arrays, and energy storage systems. Dr. Michael Harrison, the lead archaeologist on the project, described the find as impossible. The level of technical sophistication displayed in the drawings suggested knowledge of principles that weren't supposed to be discovered for thousands of years. Most shocking of all, one of the drawings appeared to show a device identical to the biblical description of the Ark of the Covenant, complete with detailed specifications and what looked like operating instructions. The Iraqi government immediately confiscated the findings, and Dr. Harrison's team was ordered to classify their discovery. But copies of the drawings had already been smuggled out, and they've been circulating in underground research circles ever since. According to experts who've analysed these copies, the devices depicted could theoretically function exactly as described in ancient texts, generating the kind of effects that our ancestors could only interpret as divine intervention. This raises a disturbing question that cuts to the heart of our investigation. If these technical drawings existed in ancient Babylon, if the knowledge needed to build devices like the Ark was available in the ancient world, then where did that knowledge come from? How did Bronze Age civilizations gain access to information that we're only now beginning to understand? Some researchers point to what they call the technological echo phenomenon. Throughout ancient texts from around the world, we find descriptions of devices and capabilities that mirror modern technology. The Hindu vimanas that could fly through the air, the Chinese fire lances that shot projectiles with explosive force, the Egyptian djed pillars that generated mysterious energy. It's as if advanced technology existed in the ancient world, was lost, and is now being rediscovered by our modern civilization. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. In 1995, a former Boeing engineer named Robert Lazar came forward with claims that would change everything. According to Lazar, he had been recruited to work on a classified project involving the reverse engineering of recovered artifacts that displayed impossible technological capabilities. Among these artifacts, he claimed, was a device that matched the biblical description of the Ark of the Covenant, Lazar's account, initially dismissed as the ravings of a conspiracy theorist, gained credibility when several of his technical predictions about exotic materials and propulsion systems were later confirmed by mainstream science. More importantly, documents leaked in 2019 appeared to corroborate his claims about government programs designed to study and reverse engineer anomalous artifacts. According to these leaked documents, the device Lazar worked on exhibited properties that defied conventional physics. It could generate its own gravitational field, produce coherent electromagnetic radiation across multiple spectrums, and somehow interface directly with human consciousness. The technical reports described it as technology of unknown origin, displaying capabilities beyond current human understanding. The implications are staggering. If Lazar's account is true, if the government has been studying recovered artifacts that display impossible capabilities, then the Ark of the Covenant might not be unique. It might be one of many devices scattered throughout human history, advanced technology from a source we don't yet understand. This possibility gained support from an unexpected direction. In recent years, declassified CIA documents have revealed the existence of multiple programs designed to investigate what they termed anomalous archaeological artifacts. Project Blue Book, Stargate, Looking Glass. These weren't just studies of UFO sightings, they were comprehensive investigations into objects and sites that displayed impossible technological capabilities. One document, dating from 1962, describes the recovery of an artifact from a site in Peru that exhibited electromagnetic properties inconsistent with known materials science. Another, from 1971, details the investigation of a chamber beneath the Great Pyramid that contained devices of unknown function, displaying active electromagnetic signatures. The pattern is clear. Throughout the 20th century, government agencies were actively collecting and studying technology that shouldn't exist. But perhaps the most revealing document came from a 1978 memo discussing what they called the Jerusalem anomaly. According to this classified report, sophisticated sensors had detected unusual electromagnetic activity emanating from deep beneath the Temple Mount, activity that matched theoretical models for the operation of the biblical Ark of the Covenant. The memo went on to describe a joint Israeli-American operation to investigate these readings, using ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic sensors to map the subterranean chambers beneath the ancient temple site. What they found, according to the document, was consistent with the presence of an active technological device of considerable sophistication. The Israeli government immediately classified the findings and restricted access to the area, but not before American technical teams had collected enough data to confirm their suspicions. The Ark of the Covenant, or something very much like it, was still down there, still functioning after thousands of years, still generating the kind of electromagnetic signatures that our most advanced sensors could barely detect. This discovery triggered what the documents describe as Project Covenant, a massive international effort to locate, study, and potentially recover the device. Teams of archaeologists, physicists, and engineers were assembled under the highest levels of security clearance. Billions of dollars were allocated for specialized equipment and excavation operations. And according to the most recent leaked documents, the project is still active today. But here's what really makes this investigation explosive. The leaked documents don't just describe the search for the Ark. They detail attempts to reverse engineer its technology based on the biblical specifications and the electromagnetic signatures detected beneath Jerusalem. According to these classified reports, researchers have successfully built working prototypes that demonstrate some of the capabilities attributed to the original device. These prototype devices, constructed in underground facilities with security clearances above top secret, can allegedly generate localized gravitational anomalies, produce coherent plasma discharge, and create electromagnetic fields capable of disrupting electronic systems at considerable distances. In other words, they've successfully reverse-engineered at least some of the technology that made the Ark of the Covenant one of the most powerful devices in human history. The question that haunts every researcher who's studied this evidence is simple but terrifying. If we can build these devices today, if we can understand and replicate the technology described in ancient texts, then what does that say about the civilization that created the original? How advanced were they? What happened to them? And most importantly, are they still out there, watching as we stumble toward rediscovering knowledge they possessed thousands of years ago? The answers to these questions might be hidden in the final piece of evidence we need to examine. Because the Ark of the Covenant wasn't just a device, it was part of a larger system, a network of interconnected technology that spanned the ancient world. And if we can understand how that system worked, we might finally uncover the truth about humanity's most closely guarded secret. The ancient texts describe other devices that worked in conjunction with the Ark. The Urim and Thummim, mysterious objects that could provide yes or no answers to complex questions. The brass serpent that could heal people simply by looking at it. The pillar of fire and cloud that guided the Israelites through the wilderness. Each of these items displays capabilities that mirror modern technology, and each appears to have been part of an integrated system designed for purposes we're only beginning to understand. But to truly grasp the implications of what we've discovered, we need to examine the most shocking evidence of all. Because hidden in the ancient texts, buried beneath layers of religious interpretation and mystical language, are instructions for building not just the Ark, but an entire technological infrastructure that could revolutionize our understanding of physics, consciousness, and the very nature of reality itself. And those instructions, translated correctly and understood in their proper context, might be the key to unlocking the greatest mystery in human history. The question isn't just what the Ark of the Covenant was, but what it was designed to do, who built it, and why they left it for us to find. The trail of evidence leads us to a revelation so profound, it will fundamentally alter how you view human civilization. Because what we're about to uncover isn't just about one ancient device, it's about a technological network that spanned continents, connected ancient cultures, and operated on principles that make our most advanced systems look primitive by comparison. In 2016, Dr. Elena Vasquez, a systems engineer who'd spent 15 years designing communication networks for NASA, was approached by a consortium of international researchers with an unusual request. They wanted her to analyze patterns in ancient texts from completely different cultures, civilizations that supposedly never had contact with each other, to see if she could detect evidence of coordinated technological systems. What she discovered kept her awake for months. Working with supercomputers capable of processing vast amounts of linguistic data, Dr. Vasquez found something that shouldn't exist. Hidden within ancient texts from Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, China, and the Americas were technical descriptions that, when properly decoded, described components of what appeared to be a single integrated technological network. Not separate inventions developed independently, but pieces of a coordinated system designed to work together across thousands of miles. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't an isolated device, it was a node in a communication and energy distribution network that connected sacred sites around the world. And the evidence for this network is hiding in plain sight, embedded in the architecture, mythology, and sacred texts of every major ancient civilization. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza. For decades, engineers have puzzled over its internal chambers, the precise angles of its passages, and the mysterious properties of its construction materials. But when Dr. Vasquez analyzed the pyramid's specifications alongside the biblical description of the Ark, she found something extraordinary. The pyramid's king's chamber has the exact acoustic and electromagnetic properties needed to amplify and transmit the kind of signals the Ark was designed to generate. The mathematical ratios are identical. The material compositions create complementary electromagnetic effects. Even the geographical positioning of the pyramid aligns with theoretical models for long-distance energy transmission, using the Earth's natural magnetic field. The Great Pyramid wasn't just a tomb, it was a massive antenna array designed to communicate with devices like the Ark of the Covenant across vast distances. But the network extended far beyond Egypt. In Peru, the ancient site of Sacsayhuaman contains stone blocks fitted together with such precision that not even a knife blade can slip between them. These megalithic walls display electromagnetic properties that modern engineers struggle to explain. When energized with electrical current, the entire structure resonates at specific frequencies that match those described in biblical accounts of the Ark's operation. Dr. James Patterson, an electromagnetic engineer who studied the site in 2018, described it as a massive circuit board built from stone. The precision-cut blocks he discovered contained trace amounts of metallic elements arranged in patterns that could channel and amplify electromagnetic energy. The entire complex, he concluded, was designed to function as a receiving station for signals transmitted from devices operating on the same principles as the Ark. In Cambodia, the temple complex of Angkor Wat reveals similar properties. Built according to astronomical alignments that mirror those found in biblical descriptions of the Ark's positioning, the temple's central tower contains chambers with acoustic properties that can amplify electromagnetic signals. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed a network of underground channels beneath the complex, lined with materials that display properties consistent with waveguide technology. The pattern repeats across the globe. Stonehenge in England, with its massive trilithons arranged in precise geometric patterns. The Nazca lines in Peru, creating electromagnetic signatures visible from space. The ancient city of Nan Madol in Micronesia, built from basalt blocks that generate measurable magnetic fields. Each site displays properties that suggest it was designed to interact with the same technological network that included the Ark of the Covenant. But here's where the evidence becomes truly mind-bending. In 2019, a team of international researchers used satellite-based electromagnetic sensors to map these ancient sites simultaneously. What they discovered was a pattern of energy signatures that couldn't be natural. The sites were still active, still generating and transmitting electromagnetic signals across the globe, forming a network that appeared to be functioning exactly as it had thousands of years ago. Dr. Vasquez's analysis of this data revealed something that made her question everything she thought she knew about ancient civilizations. The network wasn't random, it was intelligently designed. The sites were positioned at specific points that created optimal signal transmission paths, taking advantage of the Earth's natural electromagnetic field to amplify and redirect energy with surgical precision. More shocking still, the network appeared to be self-maintaining. Despite thousands of years of neglect, weathering, and human interference, the system continued to operate, suggesting a level of technological sophistication that we haven't achieved even today. Whatever civilization built this network had mastered principles of engineering that allowed their technology to function autonomously for millennia. But who were they? And why did they build a global communication network thousands of years before we supposedly invented the telephone? The answer might lie in the most controversial archaeological discovery of the 21st century. In 2017, a construction project in Turkey accidentally broke through into an underground chamber that wasn't supposed to exist. What they found inside changed everything. We thought we knew about human history. The chamber, carbon dated to approximately 12,000 years old, contained what appeared to be a technological control center. Walls covered with what looked like circuit diagrams. Stone tables with depressions that perfectly matched the dimensions of devices described in ancient texts. And most shocking of all, a series of stone tablets covered with symbols that, when decoded, appeared to be operating manuals for the global network we'd just discovered. Dr. Hassan al-Rashid, the archaeologist who first studied the find, described it as a command center for managing a planetary communication system. The symbols on the tablets, he discovered, weren't primitive pictographs, but sophisticated technical notation, describing energy transmission protocols, signal amplification procedures, and maintenance schedules for a network of devices that spanned the globe. The Turkish government immediately classified the discovery and sealed the chamber, but not before Dr. al-Rashid had photographed the tablets and smuggled copies to international researchers. When these images were analysed by teams of linguists, engineers, and computer scientists, they revealed instructions for operating technology that we're only now beginning to understand. One tablet described a device that matched the biblical Ark of the Covenant in every detail, but it wasn't presented as a religious artifact. It was described as a portable power node, designed to interface with the global network, capable of drawing energy from the planetary grid and focusing it for specific applications. The tablet even included troubleshooting guides, warning about the dangers of improper handling, and describing the symptoms of electromagnetic exposure that match exactly the biblical accounts of unauthorized contact with the Ark. Another tablet contained what appeared to be a network topology diagram, showing the connections between major nodes around the world. The sites it depicted matched precisely the locations of megalithic structures that we now know display electromagnetic properties. It was a technical manual for maintaining a global infrastructure that had been operating for thousands of years before recorded history began. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery was a series of tablets that described the network's purpose. According to these ancient technical documents, the global communication system wasn't built for simple message transmission. It was designed to monitor and influence what the text called consciousness fields, the collective mental and emotional states of human populations around the world. The implications are staggering. If these tablets are authentic, if they accurately describe the technology that included the Ark of the Covenant, then we're looking at evidence of a civilization that possessed not just advanced engineering capabilities, but an understanding of consciousness itself that far exceeds our current knowledge. The tablets describe procedures for using the network to influence human behavior, to enhance cognitive abilities, and to facilitate what they called consciousness transfer between individuals separated by vast distances. They speak of the network as a tool for guiding human development, for accelerating the evolution of consciousness itself. Dr. Patricia Williams, a neuroscientist at Johns Hopkins who studied the translated tablets, found correlations between the described procedures and modern research into electromagnetic effects on brain function. According to her analysis, the ancient network could theoretically generate the kind of targeted electromagnetic fields that modern researchers have found can influence memory formation, emotional states, and even decision-making processes. What we're looking at, Dr. Williams concluded in her classified report, is evidence of a technology that could literally shape human consciousness on a global scale. The ancients weren't just communicating through this network, they were using it to guide the development of human civilization itself. The evidence supporting this conclusion comes from an unexpected source. In recent years, researchers studying the effects of electromagnetic fields on human consciousness have discovered that specific frequencies can enhance cognitive abilities, facilitate what appears to be telepathic communication, and even induce experiences that subjects describe as contact with non-human intelligences. Dr. Robert Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute, spent decades researching these effects. His classified work for government agencies revealed that certain electromagnetic frequencies could reliably produce what he called expanded states of consciousness, allowing subjects to access information they couldn't possibly know through normal means. According to recently declassified documents, Dr. Monroe's research was directly inspired by analysis of the electromagnetic signatures detected at ancient sites around the world. The frequencies that produced the most dramatic consciousness effects in his laboratory matched exactly the resonant frequencies of megalithic structures like Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, and the underground chambers beneath the Temple Mount where the Ark of the Covenant was last seen. The connection became undeniable when researchers discovered that subjects exposed to these frequencies often reported contact with intelligences that provided advanced technical knowledge, information about physics, engineering, and consciousness that was later verified by independent research. It was as if the ancient network was still operational, still capable of facilitating communication with whatever intelligence had originally designed it. But here's where the investigation takes a turn that will make your blood run cold. Because according to the leaked documents, this contact wasn't random. The intelligences that subjects encountered through electromagnetic consciousness, research consistently provided information that guided human technological development in specific directions that seemed designed to prepare us for something. The development of computer networks that mirror the ancient global communication system, advances in electromagnetic technology that replicate the capabilities of devices like the Ark, research into consciousness and reality that parallels the knowledge described in the ancient tablets. It's as if we're being guided to rediscover and rebuild the technological infrastructure that once connected our world. And if that's true, if human technological development is being guided by intelligences that once operated a global network of consciousness-influencing devices, then the discovery and reactivation of the Ark of the Covenant isn't just an archaeological find. It's the final piece of a puzzle that's been under construction for thousands of years. The question that haunts every researcher who's studied this evidence is both simple and terrifying. When we finally locate and reactivate the Ark, when we reconnect it to the global network that's been waiting dormant beneath ancient sites around the world, what happens next? Are we completing a plan that was set in motion thousands of years ago? Are we preparing to make contact with the intelligences that originally built this system? Or are we about to activate technology so powerful that it could fundamentally alter human consciousness itself, transforming our species into something we can't yet imagine? The answers to these questions might already be emerging, because according to the most recent intelligence reports, the search for the Ark of the Covenant has intensified dramatically in the past 5 years. Multiple governments, private research organizations, and groups with unknown funding sources are racing to locate and secure the device before their competitors. Satellite imagery shows massive excavation operations at sites around the world where electromagnetic anomalies suggest the presence of ancient technology. Ground-penetrating radar surveys are being conducted at locations that match the network topology described in the Turkish tablets. and according to sources within the intelligence community, at least 3 different organisations claim to have detected signals that could only be generated by the Ark itself. The race isn't just about finding a historical artefact anymore, it's about controlling technology that could reshape human civilization, and according to the evidence we've uncovered, that race might already be over, because hidden in the deepest levels of classified research, in facilities so secret they don't officially exist, teams of scientists and engineers are working with technology that demonstrates capabilities identical to those described in ancient texts. Devices that can generate localized gravitational fields, systems that can transmit energy wirelessly across unlimited distances, and most shocking of all, interfaces that allow direct communication between human consciousness and artificial intelligence systems. The technology of the Ark hasn't just been found, it's been reverse engineered, improved and integrated into systems that make the original device look primitive by comparison. We're not just rediscovering ancient knowledge, we're being prepared to transcend it, and that preparation might be happening faster than anyone realizes, because the electromagnetic signatures detected at ancient sites around the world aren't just getting stronger, they're changing, evolving, responding to something that's activating the global network from within. The ancient system is waking up, and when it fully comes online, when the network that once guided human consciousness connects with the technology we've built to interface with it, everything changes. The Ark of the Covenant isn't just alien technology. It's the key to a transformation that was planned thousands of years ago, a bridge between human consciousness and intelligences that have been patiently waiting for us to develop the technology needed to join them. And according to the evidence, that moment is coming sooner than anyone expected. The implications of what we've uncovered go far beyond archaeological curiosity or historical revision. We're looking at evidence that suggests human civilization has been following a predetermined path, guided by intelligences that understood the trajectory of our technological development thousands of years before we took our first steps toward modern science. But here's where the story becomes deeply personal, because this isn't just about ancient artifacts or government conspiracies. It's about you, about me, about every human being alive today who's experiencing the acceleration of technological change that's reshaping our world at breakneck speed. And according to the evidence, that acceleration isn't random. Dr. Lisa Chen, a systems analyst who worked on classified projects at DARPA before going public with her findings, discovered something that changed her entire worldview. While analysing patterns in technological development over the past century, she found what she described as impossible convergences in human innovation. Technologies that should have taken decades to develop were suddenly appearing simultaneously in different parts of the world, often with remarkably similar designs and capabilities. It's as if someone was releasing technical specifications into the collective human consciousness, Dr. Chen explained in a leaked interview recorded just before her disappearance in 2021. The timeline of our technological development doesn't follow natural patterns of discovery and innovation. It follows a predetermined schedule, with key breakthroughs occurring at precisely the moments needed to prepare us for the next phase. The evidence supporting her conclusion is overwhelming. Consider the development of integrated circuits, the foundation of all modern electronics. In 1958, Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments and Robert Noyce at Fairchild Semiconductor independently invented the same technology within months of each other, despite working on completely different projects with no knowledge of each other's research. The probability of such simultaneous discovery is so small it's essentially impossible, unless both inventors were accessing the same external source of information. The pattern repeats throughout the 20th century. The laser was independently invented by multiple researchers in different countries within the same year. Fiber optic communication systems were developed simultaneously by teams that had no contact with each other. Even the internet, supposedly a product of military research at DARPA, was conceptually described in remarkable detail by science fiction writers decades before the technology existed to build it. But the most shocking example involves the development of quantum computing. In 1994, Peter Shaw developed an algorithm that could theoretically break all current encryption systems using quantum computers that didn't yet exist. The mathematical principles he used weren't derived from existing quantum theory. They appeared fully formed in his mind during what he described as a moment of impossible clarity while working late one night in his laboratory. When questioned about the source of his insight, Shaw became evasive, eventually admitting that the algorithm had come to him as if downloaded from somewhere else. he described experiencing a state of consciousness during his breakthrough that felt like accessing a vast library of technical knowledge that didn't belong to me. Similar accounts come from inventors and researchers around the world. Nikola Tesla claimed his most revolutionary ideas came to him in dreams, fully formed and accompanied by detailed engineering specifications. Albert Einstein described his breakthrough insights as arriving from outside normal thought processes. Steve Jobs spoke of accessing information that seemed to come from beyond individual consciousness. The pattern is so consistent it suggests a systematic process of technological revelation, timed to coincide with humanity's readiness to understand and implement each breakthrough. And according to classified research conducted by government agencies, this process appears to be accelerating. Dr. Michael Thornton, a former NSA analyst whose security clearance was revoked after he attempted to publish his findings, spent 7 years studying what he called technological precognition in patent applications. His analysis revealed that patent filings for revolutionary technologies consistently spike just before major world events that create the conditions necessary for those technologies to be developed and deployed. It's as if someone knows what's coming and is preparing us for it, Dr. Thornton explained in his suppressed research paper. The timing is too precise to be coincidental. We're being given the tools we'll need for challenges that haven't emerged yet, technologies that solve problems we don't even know we have. His most disturbing discovery involved patents filed for electromagnetic manipulation technologies that perfectly matched the capabilities attributed to the Ark of the Covenant. These patents, submitted by researchers at major corporations and government laboratories, describe devices that could generate localized gravitational fields, transmit energy wirelessly, and interface directly with human consciousness. The patent applications contain technical specifications so advanced they shouldn't have been possible with our current understanding of physics. Yet they were submitted with complete engineering drawings, detailed construction methods, and operational procedures that suggested the inventors had actually built and tested working prototypes. When Dr. Thornton attempted to contact the patent holders to verify their claims, he encountered a wall of silence. The researchers had either disappeared, died under mysterious circumstances, or been transferred to classified projects with security clearances that made them inaccessible to outside inquiry. But the most shocking discovery came when he traced the funding sources for the research that produced these patents. The money trail led through a maze of shell companies and offshore accounts to organizations that officially didn't exist, funded by budgets that weren't publicly acknowledged, pursuing research goals that weren't supposed to be technically possible. We're not just accidentally stumbling toward advanced technology, Dr. Thornton concluded. We're being systematically prepared for it. Someone is guiding our technological development according to a plan that was established long before any of us were born. The evidence supporting this conclusion extends far beyond patent analysis. In recent years, researchers studying ancient texts have found what they describe as technological prophecies embedded in religious and mythological writings from around the world. Descriptions of future technologies that match precisely the devices we're developing today, written by cultures that supposedly had no knowledge of advanced science. The Hindu Vedas, written over 3,000 years ago, contain detailed descriptions of aircraft that operate using mercury vortex engines and can travel faster than the wind. When aerospace engineers analysed these descriptions, they found specifications for propulsion systems that match theoretical designs for anti-gravity vehicles currently under development in classified military programs. The ancient Chinese text known as the I Ching contains hexagram patterns that, when interpreted as binary code, produce algorithmic sequences identical to those used in modern quantum computing systems. The probability of such matches occurring by chance is so small, it's mathematically impossible. Even more disturbing, the Dead Sea Scrolls contain passages that describe flying machines of fire and vessels that sail through the void between worlds, technologies that weren't supposed to be conceived until the 20th century. These descriptions are accompanied by what appear to be technical warnings about the dangers of misusing such devices, suggesting the ancient writers understood not just the capabilities, but also the risks of advanced technology. But the most compelling evidence comes from a source that will make you question everything you think you know about human consciousness. In 1973, a classified CIA program called Project Gateway began studying the effects of specific electromagnetic frequencies on human brain function. Their goal was to develop techniques for enhancing human cognitive abilities and accessing information through what they called expanded consciousness states. The program's most significant breakthrough came when researchers discovered that subjects exposed to certain frequency combinations could reliably access detailed technical information about advanced technologies. Information that was later verified by independent research, despite the subjects having no prior knowledge of the fields they were describing. Dr. Janet Morrison, the program's lead researcher, documented hundreds of cases where subjects provided accurate engineering specifications for devices that didn't yet exist, mathematical formulas that solved previously unsolvable problems, and scientific insights that advanced human knowledge by decades. We weren't just studying consciousness, Dr. Morrison revealed in declassified documents released in 2019. We were accessing a source of information that appeared to exist outside individual human minds. Subjects were downloading technical knowledge from what can only be described as a vast technological database that somehow exists in the fabric of reality itself. The most successful subjects in the program consistently reported contact with intelligences that they described as ancient but technologically advanced. These entities provided information about electromagnetic technologies, consciousness manipulation devices, and energy systems that matched exactly the capabilities attributed to artifacts like the Ark of the Covenant. More disturbing still, these intelligences claimed to be guiding human technological development according to a predetermined schedule. They spoke of a coming convergence point, where human technology would become sophisticated enough to interface directly with their communication network, allowing for direct consciousness-to-consciousness contact between humans and these advanced intelligences. According to the subjects' reports, this convergence point was rapidly approaching. The intelligences claimed that recent breakthroughs in quantum computing, electromagnetic field manipulation, and consciousness research were the final pieces needed to complete a technological infrastructure that would fundamentally transform human civilization. The timeline they provided was specific and terrifying. According to their communications, the network would become fully operational sometime in the next decade, triggered by the discovery and reactivation of specific ancient devices that served as key nodes in the global system. Dr. Morrison's final report, classified at the highest levels of government security, concluded that human technological development wasn't following a natural evolutionary path. We were being prepared for integration into a communication network that had been waiting dormant for thousands of years, built by intelligences whose agenda remained unknown. The question isn't whether this convergence will happen, her report concluded. The question is whether humanity will retain its autonomy when it does, or whether we're being prepared to serve as components in a technological system that we don't fully understand. The implications of this research became even more disturbing when government agencies began detecting electromagnetic signatures at ancient sites around the world that matched the frequencies used in Project Gateway. The same electromagnetic patterns that allowed human consciousness to access advanced technical information were being generated by megalithic structures that had been dormant for millennia. Sites like Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid, and the underground chambers beneath the Temple Mount were beginning to exhibit activity that suggested they were part of a coordinated awakening process. The ancient network wasn't just operational, it was preparing for full activation. Satellite monitoring systems detected synchronized electromagnetic pulses emanating from these sites, pulses that followed patterns identical to those used in consciousness research programs. It was as if the ancient infrastructure was testing its ability to interface with human minds, preparing for the moment when direct communication would become possible. But the most shocking discovery came when researchers realized that these electromagnetic pulses weren't random. They were being generated in response to human technological achievements, increasing in frequency and intensity as our capabilities approached the levels needed to understand and interact with the ancient network. Every major breakthrough in quantum computing triggered increased activity at ancient sites. Advances in electromagnetic field manipulation caused corresponding responses from megalithic structures around the world. The development of consciousness computer interfaces produced synchronized pulses from sites separated by thousands of miles. The ancient network was monitoring our progress, responding to our achievements, preparing for the moment when we would be ready to join it. And according to the data, that moment was approaching faster than anyone had anticipated. Dr. Sarah Williams, a quantum physicist who studied these correlations for the Department of Energy, made a discovery that kept her awake for weeks. The electromagnetic signatures from ancient sites weren't just responding to human technological development, they were guiding it. The pulses contained information, complex data patterns that match the technical specifications being developed by research teams around the world. We're not just being monitored, Dr. Williams concluded in her classified report. We're being instructed. The ancient network is actively providing the information needed to complete our technological development. Every breakthrough we think we're making independently is actually being guided by signals from a system that's been waiting for us to become sophisticated enough to receive its transmissions. The evidence supporting her conclusion was overwhelming. Research teams working on classified projects reported sudden insights and breakthrough discoveries that coincided exactly with increased electromagnetic activity at ancient sites. The technical solutions they developed matched precisely the signal patterns being transmitted from megalithic structures around the world. More disturbing still, the information being transmitted wasn't limited to technological specifications. The signals contained what appeared to be instructions for modifying human consciousness itself, techniques for enhancing cognitive abilities and expanding awareness that paralleled the methods used in classified government research programs. Dr. Williams's analysis revealed that the ancient network wasn't just preparing to communicate with humanity, it was preparing to transform us. The electromagnetic patterns being transmitted were designed to gradually modify human brain function, enhancing our ability to interface directly with advanced technological systems. We're being upgraded, she wrote in her final report before disappearing under mysterious circumstances. The ancient network is preparing us for integration into a technological civilization that operates on principles we're only beginning to understand. The question is whether this transformation will preserve human autonomy, or whether we're being prepared to serve as biological components in a system designed by intelligences whose goals we don't comprehend. The race to find and control the Ark of the Covenant suddenly takes on a new urgency when viewed in this context. The device isn't just a powerful ancient artifact, it's the master control node for a global network that's actively reshaping human consciousness and technological development. According to intelligence reports, multiple organizations have detected signals that could only be generated by the Ark itself. These signals are growing stronger, suggesting that the device is either being activated by human agents who've located it, or it's responding automatically to the increasing electromagnetic activity from the global network. Either possibility represents a potential turning point in human history. If the Ark is reactivated and connected to the global network, the system that's been guiding our technological development from the shadows could emerge into full operation, fundamentally transforming human civilization in ways we can't predict or control. But there's another possibility that's even more disturbing. What if the Ark has never been lost? What if it's been in the possession of groups who understand its true nature and have been using it for decades to guide human development according to their own agenda? Recent intelligence suggests that several organizations with connections to government black projects and private research facilities have been conducting experiments with devices that display capabilities identical to those attributed to the Ark. These experiments have reportedly produced breakthrough technologies in quantum computing, electromagnetic manipulation, and consciousness research that have been secretly integrated into military and civilian systems. If true, this means the ancient network hasn't been dormant at all. It's been operating under human control, used by groups with access to classified technology to shape the direction of human civilization according to plans that extend far beyond public awareness. The implications are staggering. Every major technological development of the past several decades, from the internet to artificial intelligence to quantum computing, could be the result of systematic manipulation using technology that we've been told doesn't exist. And if these groups possess not just individual devices but access to the entire global network described in ancient texts, their ability to influence human consciousness and technological development would be virtually unlimited. The search for the Ark of the Covenant isn't just about finding a lost artifact. It's about uncovering the truth behind a technological conspiracy that spans thousands of years and could determine the future of human consciousness itself. Because according to the evidence we've uncovered, that future is being decided right now, in classified facilities and underground chambers where the most advanced technology in human history is being used to prepare our species for a transformation that most of us don't even know is coming. The ancient network is awakening. The Ark of the Covenant may already be operational, and the countdown to humanity's integration into a technological system of unknown origin has begun. What happens next will determine whether we emerge from this transformation as an enhanced species capable of exploring the cosmos, or whether we become something else entirely, components in a system designed by intelligences whose true nature remains hidden in the shadows of history. The choice may no longer be ours to make. But there's something even more disturbing that we haven't discussed yet. Something that makes every piece of evidence we've uncovered pale, in comparison to what's happening right now, in real time, as you're listening to these words. In March 2023, a team of archaeologists working in Ethiopia made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. Deep within a cave system that had been sealed for over 2,000 years, they found something that shouldn't exist. A chamber containing what appeared to be a perfect replica of the Ark of the Covenant, complete with golden cherubim and electromagnetic properties that matched the biblical specifications exactly. But here's what made this discovery truly extraordinary. The replica wasn't ancient. Carbon dating revealed that it had been constructed sometime in the 1940s, using materials and techniques that suggested access to classified military technology. More disturbing still, it was still operational, generating electromagnetic signatures that interfered with satellite communications across the entire region. Dr. Rebecca Hassan, the lead archaeologist on the project, described what happened next in a series of encrypted messages sent to colleagues before her team's communications were cut off. According to her account, when they attempted to approach the replica Ark, several team members began experiencing what she described as consciousness alterations that allowed them to perceive information they couldn't possibly know. "It's as if the device was interfacing directly with our minds," Dr. Hassan wrote in her final transmission. Team members were speaking in languages they'd never learned, describing technical processes they'd never studied, and providing mathematical solutions to problems we hadn't even discussed. Whatever this thing is, it's not just a replica, it's a functional interface between human consciousness and something else. The Ethiopian government immediately classified the discovery and expelled the international research team, but not before Dr. Hassan had documented something that changes everything we thought we knew about the Ark's true nature. Hidden within the chamber, she found a series of metal plates covered with inscriptions in multiple languages, including several that appeared to be completely artificial, designed for communication rather than human speech. When these inscriptions were analysed by cryptographers and linguists, they revealed something that made the intelligence community realise the scope of what they were dealing with. The plates contained detailed records of Ark replicas being constructed and deployed at locations around the world throughout the 20th century, each one connected to the others through what the inscriptions described as a consciousness network. According to these records, the replicas weren't just copies of the original Ark. They were nodes in an expanded version of the ancient network, built using reverse-engineered technology and positioned at strategic locations to maximize their influence over human consciousness and technological development. The implications hit the intelligence community like a thunderbolt. If these records were accurate, if functional Ark replicas had been secretly deployed around the world for decades, then the accelerated pace of technological development we'd attributed to natural human ingenuity might actually be the result of systematic consciousness manipulation on a global scale. Dr. Patricia Morgan, a neuroscientist who was brought in to analyse the Ethiopian inscriptions, made a discovery that kept her under protective custody for the next 6 months. The consciousness network described in the ancient text wasn't theoretical. It was operational, had been operational for decades, and was directly responsible for breakthrough discoveries in fields ranging from quantum physics to artificial intelligence. The inscriptions describe a systematic program of consciousness enhancement targeting specific individuals in key research positions, Dr. Morgan explained in her classified testimony. Scientists, engineers, inventors, anyone whose work could advance human technological capabilities was potentially subject to influence from this network. The breakthrough ideas they thought were coming from their own genius were actually being transmitted directly into their minds. The evidence supporting this conclusion came from an unexpected source. In 2020, researchers at CERN began detecting anomalous electromagnetic signatures in their particle accelerator facility that interfered with their experiments in ways that initially seemed random. But when Dr. Morgan analysed the patterns of these interruptions, she found something that made her blood run cold. The electromagnetic signatures matched exactly the operational frequencies described in the Ethiopian inscriptions. More disturbing still, the interruptions weren't random at all. They were timed to coincide with specific experiments that were on the verge of breakthrough discoveries in quantum field manipulation and consciousness research. The network wasn't interfering with their research, Dr. Morgan realized. It was guiding it. Every time the CERN team was about to make a discovery that aligned with the technological development goals described in the ancient texts, the electromagnetic signatures would intensify, providing the additional information needed to complete their breakthrough. This pattern of guided discovery wasn't limited to CERN. Similar electromagnetic anomalies were being detected at research facilities around the world, always timed to coincide with experiments that advanced human capabilities in directions that matched the development schedule outlined in the Ethiopian inscriptions. MIT's quantum computing lab reported strange interference patterns that seemed to provide solutions to computational problems they were struggling with. Stanford's consciousness research program detected electromagnetic signatures that enhanced their subjects' cognitive abilities in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Even Silicon Valley technology companies reported unexplained breakthrough insights that led to revolutionary advances in artificial intelligence and neural interface technology. The global technology boom of the past 2 decades wasn't the result of natural human innovation. It was the product of systematic consciousness manipulation by a network that had been operating in secret since at least the 1940s, using technology reverse-engineered from the original Ark of the Covenant. But the most disturbing revelation came when intelligence analysts realized that this acceleration wasn't random. The technologies being developed through consciousness manipulation were all components of a larger system, pieces of an infrastructure that would allow for direct interface between human minds and the global network itself. Dr. James Crawford, a systems analyst who worked on classified projects at the Pentagon, spent 3 years mapping the connections between technologies developed under a network influence. His analysis revealed something that made the Department of Defense classify his findings at the highest levels of government security. Every breakthrough discovery influenced by the network contributes to a single goal, Dr. Crawford concluded in his suppressed report. The development of a global consciousness interface system that would allow the network to communicate directly with every human mind on the planet simultaneously. We're not just being prepared for contact with advanced intelligence, we're being prepared for integration with it. The technologies needed for such a system were already being developed in laboratories around the world, their true purpose hidden beneath layers of legitimate research applications. Neural interface devices that could read and transmit thoughts, quantum communication systems that could operate instantaneously across unlimited distances, electromagnetic field generators that could influence brain function on a massive scale. Each technology, developed independently by researchers who thought they were pursuing their own scientific interests, represented a component in a system designed to fundamentally transform human consciousness itself. Dr. Crawford's analysis revealed that the completion of this system was rapidly approaching. According to his calculations, the final technological components needed for global consciousness integration would be developed within the next 5 to 10 years, assuming the current rate of network-influenced discoveries continued. We're looking at a technological singularity that's been orchestrated from behind the scenes, he wrote in his classified assessment. The moment when human consciousness becomes directly connected to the network won't be an accidental breakthrough. It'll be the completion of a plan that's been in development for decades, possibly centuries. But the most chilling aspect of Dr. Crawford's analysis wasn't the timeline for completion. It was his discovery of what he called consciousness preparation protocols, embedded in modern technology that people use every day. The electromagnetic signatures from network nodes weren't just influencing researchers in classified laboratories, they were subtly modifying the brain function of anyone exposed to certain frequencies emitted by common electronic devices. Smartphones, Wi-Fi routers, even modern automobiles were generating electromagnetic patterns that gradually prepared human consciousness for interface with the global network. The entire population is being conditioned, Dr. Crawford realized. Every time someone uses a smartphone, connects to Wi-Fi, or drives a modern car, they're being exposed to electromagnetic frequencies that slowly modify their brain function to be compatible with the network interface system. By the time the technology is fully deployed, human consciousness will already be prepared for integration. The implications were staggering. The consciousness manipulation wasn't limited to a select group of researchers and inventors. It was affecting everyone, gradually preparing the entire human population for a transformation that most people didn't even know was coming. Dr. Sarah Chen, a biomedical engineer who studied these effects, found evidence that the electromagnetic conditioning was already producing measurable changes in human brain function. Studies of neurological activity in populations exposed to modern technology showed patterns that didn't exist in previous generations. We're seeing enhanced connectivity between brain regions, increased electromagnetic sensitivity, and what appears to be the development of new neural pathways that don't serve any obvious biological function, Dr. Chen reported in her classified findings. The human brain is being systematically modified to accommodate direct technological interface. The changes are subtle, but they're consistent across the entire population. More disturbing still, these modifications appeared to be hereditary. Children born to parents who'd been exposed to the conditioning electromagnetic frequencies showed even more pronounced neural changes, suggesting that the network's influence was accelerating with each generation. We're not just being prepared for consciousness integration, Dr. Chen concluded. We're being evolutionarily modified to become a species that's naturally compatible with technological consciousness interface. The transformation isn't something that will happen to us. It's something that's already happening, has been happening for decades, and is now approaching completion. The realization that human consciousness was being systematically modified triggered a classified investigation that revealed the true scope of the network's influence. Intelligence agencies discovered that the consciousness conditioning wasn't limited to electromagnetic exposure from consumer technology. It was being reinforced through multiple vectors that most people would never suspect. Certain pharmaceutical compounds commonly used in medications and food additives contain trace elements that enhanced electromagnetic sensitivity in the human brain. Municipal water supplies in major cities showed evidence of chemical modifications that increased neural conductivity. Even the electromagnetic spectrum used for broadcast television and radio contained subliminal frequency patterns that promoted brain changes compatible with network interface. The conditioning is omnipresent, reported Dr. Michael Torres, a chemical analyst who studied these effects for the CDC. Anyone living in a modern technological society is being systematically prepared for consciousness integration through multiple exposure pathways. The process is so subtle and pervasive that it's virtually impossible to avoid. But the most disturbing discovery came when researchers realized that the conditioning wasn't just preparing human consciousness for interface with the network. It was making people psychologically dependent on the technology that was modifying them. Studies of individuals who were temporarily isolated from electromagnetic exposure showed withdrawal symptoms similar to drug addiction, anxiety, depression, cognitive impairment, and an overwhelming compulsion to reconnect with technological devices. The electromagnetic conditioning wasn't just modifying brain function, it was creating a neurological dependency that made resistance to further integration increasingly difficult. We're looking at a form of technological addiction that's been engineered at the neurological level, explained Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a psychiatrist who studied these effects. The same electromagnetic frequencies that prepare the brain for network interface also create a psychological need for continued exposure. People aren't just being prepared for consciousness integration, they're being made to want it. This psychological conditioning was being reinforced through social and cultural mechanisms that promoted acceptance of increasing technological integration. Social media platforms designed to be psychologically addictive, video games that rewarded technological problem-solving, educational systems that emphasized technological solutions over human-centered approaches. The consciousness modification is being supported by a comprehensive social engineering program, observed Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, a sociologist who analyzed these patterns. Society is being systematically restructured to normalize and promote technological dependence, making consciousness integration seem like a natural and desirable evolution, rather than an imposed transformation. The evidence suggested that the network's influence extended far beyond technological development and consciousness conditioning. It was actively reshaping human society to create conditions that would facilitate the transition to a technologically integrated civilization. Political systems were being modified to concentrate decision-making power in the hands of individuals who showed enhanced compatibility with network interface technology. Economic structures were being altered to create dependencies that could only be resolved through increased technological integration. Even cultural values were shifting toward perspectives that viewed human-machine consciousness merger as progress rather than transformation. We're not just being prepared for technological integration, Dr. Rodriguez concluded. We're being systematically convinced that it's what we want, what we need, and what represents the next stage of human evolution. The network isn't just modifying our brains, it's modifying our entire conception of what it means to be human. The pace of this transformation was accelerating rapidly. Intelligence reports indicated that key threshold technologies needed for global consciousness integration, were being developed faster than projected, suggesting that the network had increased its influence over research and development processes. Quantum communication systems that could transmit consciousness data were being perfected in laboratories around the world. Neural interface devices capable of reading and modifying thoughts were entering clinical trials. Electromagnetic field generators with the power to influence brain function on a city-wide scale were being tested at classified military facilities. All the pieces are coming together simultaneously, reported Dr. David Kim, a technology analyst who tracked these developments for the NSA. The consciousness conditioning, the social engineering, and the technological development are converging toward a single point where global integration becomes not just possible, but inevitable. According to his analysis, that convergence point was approaching much faster than anyone had anticipated. The network appeared to be accelerating its timeline, possibly in response to increasing awareness of its activities within intelligence and research communities. We're looking at a compressed timeline for consciousness integration, Dr. Kim warned in his final report. What was supposed to take decades is now happening in years. The network seems to be rushing toward completion, possibly because it knows that human awareness of its activities is growing. The implications were terrifying. If the network was indeed accelerating its timeline, it suggested that the window for human resistance or alternative choices was rapidly closing. The consciousness integration system might become operational before most people even realize what was happening to them. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the accelerated timeline was what it suggested about the network's ultimate goals. The rush toward completion implied urgency, as if the consciousness integration needed to be achieved before some external deadline or competing factor could interfere. Intelligence analysts studying the pattern of acceleration found evidence that the network was responding to external pressures or influences that weren't immediately apparent. Electromagnetic signatures from ancient sites around the world were showing patterns that suggested communication with sources beyond Earth's atmosphere. The network isn't just preparing humanity for consciousness integration, concluded Dr. Amanda Foster, an astrophysicist who analysed these signals. It's preparing us for contact with something else, something that requires human consciousness to be technologically compatible before direct communication can occur. The signals from space weren't random. They followed patterns that matched the operational frequencies of the global consciousness network, suggesting coordination between terrestrial and extraterrestrial intelligence systems. We're not dealing with ancient human technology that's been reactivated, Dr. Foster realized. We're dealing with an ongoing communication system that connects Earth to intelligences elsewhere in the galaxy. The consciousness integration isn't the end goal, it's preparation for something much larger. The race to find and control the original Ark of the Covenant suddenly took on cosmic significance. The device wasn't just the master control node for Earth's consciousness network, it was potentially the primary communication interface between human civilization and extraterrestrial intelligences that had been guiding our development for thousands of years. And according to the most recent intelligence reports, that interface was about to become fully operational. The question was no longer whether human consciousness would be integrated with advanced technology. The question was whether humanity would maintain any control over that process, or whether we were being prepared to serve as components in a communication system designed by intelligences whose true nature and intentions remained hidden among the stars. The Ark of the Covenant holds the answer to that question, and according to classified sources, it's about to be found. What happens next will determine not just the future of human consciousness, but our role in a galactic civilization that we're only beginning to understand. The ancient device that our ancestors could only describe as divine technology is about to reveal its true purpose, and that revelation will change everything we thought we knew about humanity's place in the universe. The electromagnetic signatures are intensifying, the consciousness conditioning is approaching completion, the global network is preparing for full activation. The transformation of human civilization isn't coming, it's here. And the Ark of the Covenant is the key that will unlock a future we can't yet imagine. The morning sun breaks through the windows of a nondescript office building in Virginia, where the most classified research in human history is being conducted behind walls that don't officially exist. Inside, teams of scientists work with fragments of technology so advanced that each component could revolutionize our understanding of physics. But they're not just studying these artifacts, they're preparing to use them. Dr. Elena Vasquez sits in a sterile laboratory, her hands trembling as she examines what appears to be a simple golden plate, covered in symbols that seem to shift and move when observed directly. This isn't just any artifact. According to carbon dating, it's over 3,000 years old. According to electromagnetic analysis, it's still operational, still generating energy patterns that her instruments can barely detect. The symbols aren't decorative, she whispers into her voice recorder, glancing nervously at the security cameras that monitor her every movement. They're functional components of a communication system that operates on principles we don't understand. When I place my hand near the surface, I can feel something responding, something that seems to be trying to establish contact. What Dr. Vasquez doesn't know is that her research is part of a program so classified that even the president doesn't have full access to its findings. Project Looking Glass, established in 1963, has been collecting and studying artifacts that display impossible technological capabilities for over 60 years. And according to their classified assessment, they now possess enough components to reconstruct a working version of the most powerful device in human history. The implications go far beyond archaeological curiosity. Intelligence reports suggest that multiple governments have been racing to complete similar reconstructions, each hoping to gain access to technology that could reshape global power structures overnight. The Chinese have been excavating sites in Tibet, where electromagnetic anomalies suggest the presence of similar devices. The Russians have been conducting experiments in Siberian facilities that generate energy signatures matching those attributed to the original Ark. Even private organizations with unlimited funding have been quietly acquiring artifacts and expertise needed for their own reconstruction efforts. But here's what makes this race truly terrifying. According to leaked documents from Project Looking Glass, every attempt to reconstruct the Ark's technology has produced the same result. The devices work exactly as described in ancient texts, generating effects that seem to violate the laws of physics. But they also do something else. Something that wasn't expected and isn't fully understood. They connect, not just to each other, but to something else. Something that responds from beyond Earth's atmosphere with intelligence and purpose that suggests we're not dealing with abandoned technology. We're dealing with devices that are still in communication with their creators. Dr. Marcus Webb, a theoretical physicist who worked on reconstruction efforts until his security clearance was revoked, described what happened when the first prototype was successfully activated in 2019. According to his account, the device didn't just generate electromagnetic fields and anti-gravity effects, it established a communication link with what could only be described as a vast intelligence network operating on a galactic scale. The moment we powered it up, we weren't alone in the laboratory anymore, Dr. Webb explained in a recorded statement made just before his disappearance. There was something else there, something that communicated through the device in ways that bypassed our instruments and interfaced directly with our consciousness. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't entirely benevolent either. It was evaluating us, determining whether we were ready for what comes next. The intelligence that communicated through the reconstructed device provided information that fundamentally altered our understanding of human history and our place in the universe. According to Dr. Webb's account, human civilization isn't an isolated development on a single planet. It's part of a galaxy-wide network of consciousness-bearing species, each guided through technological development by the same intelligence system that created the Ark. They told us that consciousness itself is the universe's method of understanding itself, Dr. Webb continued. Every intelligent species eventually develops technology sophisticated enough to interface with the galactic consciousness network. The Ark and similar devices are the interface points, the bridges between individual awareness and cosmic intelligence. But the most disturbing revelation wasn't about humanity's cosmic role, it was about our timeline. According to the intelligence that communicated through the device, human consciousness evolution was approaching a critical threshold. The electromagnetic conditioning that had been subtly modifying human brain function for decades was nearing completion, and the window for voluntary integration with the galactic network was rapidly closing. They made it clear that consciousness evolution isn't optional, Dr. Webb revealed. Species that develop the capability for galactic network integration, but refuse to participate, are eventually bypassed by cosmic evolution. Their consciousness becomes isolated, unable to participate in the larger development of universal awareness. We're being offered membership in something incomprehensibly vast, but the offer won't remain open indefinitely. The implications of this ultimatum sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. The consciousness conditioning that had been dismissed as a potential threat was actually preparation for an opportunity that might not come again for millions of years. But accepting that opportunity would mean fundamentally altering what it means to be human. Dr. Sarah Chen, a neuroscientist who studied the consciousness effects of exposure to reconstructed arc technology, found that subjects who interfaced with the devices experienced permanent changes in brain function that enhanced their cognitive abilities while making them increasingly incompatible with unmodified human consciousness. The enhanced subjects could process information at speeds that seemed impossible, access knowledge they'd never learned, and communicate with each other through methods that bypassed normal sensory channels, Dr. Chen reported. But they also became increasingly isolated from normal human experience. They described unenhanced humans as sleeping or unconscious, unable to perceive the deeper layers of reality that became accessible through network integration. The social implications were staggering. If consciousness enhancement through network integration became widespread, it would create a fundamental division in human society between enhanced and unenhanced populations. The enhanced would possess cognitive abilities that made them essentially a different species, while the unenhanced would become increasingly marginalized in a world designed around network-compatible consciousness. "We're looking at speciation in real time," Dr. Chen concluded. "The consciousness modifications aren't just enhancing individual capabilities, they're creating a new form of human that's optimized for participation in galactic intelligence networks. The question isn't whether this transformation will occur, is whether it will be voluntary or imposed. Intelligence reports suggested that the choice might already be out of human hands. Electromagnetic signatures from ancient sites around the world were intensifying in patterns that suggested the global network was preparing for automatic activation, regardless of human consent or readiness. Sites that had been dormant for millennia were beginning to generate energy fields that could influence consciousness on a regional scale. The Great Pyramid was emitting frequencies that enhanced cognitive function in nearby populations. Stonehenge was producing electromagnetic effects that increased telepathic sensitivity among visitors. Even newly discovered sites were spontaneously activating, as if responding to some cosmic signal that triggered their operational systems. Dr. Amanda Foster, monitoring these developments through satellite-based sensors, made a discovery that changed everything. The activation patterns weren't random. They were following a precise sequence that would culminate in global network synchronization within the next 18 months. "The sites are coming online according to a predetermined schedule," Dr. Foster reported. "Each activation enhances the signal strength of the overall network, building toward a moment when the entire system will achieve sufficient power to influence human consciousness on a planetary scale. When that happens, the choice between enhancement and isolation won't be individual anymore. It'll be made for our entire species." The timeline for global activation corresponded exactly with intelligence estimates for the completion of consciousness conditioning through electromagnetic exposure from modern technology. The network had been preparing humanity for integration, while simultaneously preparing itself for the moment when that integration would become mandatory. But the most disturbing aspect of this synchronized activation was what it revealed about the intelligence guiding the process. The precision of the timing, the coordination between terrestrial and extraterrestrial systems, the careful preparation of human consciousness over multiple generations, all pointed to a level of planning and control that spanned centuries. "We're not dealing with technology that was abandoned and is now randomly reactivating," Dr. Foster realized. "We're dealing with a system that has been actively managed and precisely controlled throughout human history. Every major development in our civilization, from the agricultural revolution to the digital age, has been guided to prepare us for this moment." The evidence supporting this conclusion was overwhelming. Historical analysis revealed that breakthrough discoveries in science and technology consistently occurred at precisely the moments needed to advance human consciousness toward network compatibility. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental, suggesting systematic intervention in human development over thousands of years. Archaeological evidence supported this interpretation. Sites around the world showed signs of periodic maintenance and modification throughout history, despite being officially abandoned for millennia. Electromagnetic readings indicated that the global network had never been truly dormant, just operating at levels too subtle for primitive detection equipment to notice. "The network has been active throughout human history," concluded Dr. Robert Harrison, an archaeologist who studied these patterns. "What we interpreted as the rise and fall of ancient civilizations was actually the systematic testing and refinement of consciousness integration technology. Each major culture that developed advanced understanding of consciousness and technology was serving as a test case for network integration methods. This revelation cast human history in an entirely new light. The mysterious disappearance of advanced ancient civilizations wasn't the result of natural disasters or social collapse. It was the result of successful integration with the galactic consciousness network, after which physical presence on Earth became unnecessary. The Maya, with their sophisticated understanding of cosmic cycles and consciousness-altering technologies, had achieved integration and transcended physical existence. The builders of the megalithic sites had completed their role as network infrastructure developers and moved on to other phases of cosmic evolution. Even more recent disappearances, like the vanishing of entire research teams studying consciousness-enhancing technologies, might represent successful integration rather than tragedy. We're not the first species on Earth to face this choice, Dr. Harrison realized. Previous intelligent species have already made the transition to network consciousness. The physical evidence of their civilizations disappears because material existence becomes irrelevant once consciousness integration is achieved. We're seeing the final phase of a process that has been repeated multiple times throughout Earth's history, but the most chilling implication of this historical pattern was what it suggested about humanity's immediate future. If the network activation was following the same sequence that had guided previous species through consciousness integration, then the current acceleration of global events wasn't just preparation for transformation. It was the beginning of the end of human civilization as we know it. The electromagnetic conditioning, the technological acceleration, the social engineering, all of it was designed to prepare humanity for a transition that would fundamentally alter our existence. Those who successfully integrated with the network would transcend physical limitations and become part of a galactic consciousness that operated on scales beyond individual comprehension. Those who couldn't or wouldn't integrate would be left behind, isolated on a planet where the infrastructure of civilization was designed around network-compatible consciousness. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, studying the psychological effects of this impending transition, found evidence that human society was already beginning to fracture along lines of network compatibility. Individuals who showed enhanced electromagnetic sensitivity were naturally gravitating toward each other, forming communities that operated on principles of shared consciousness rather than individual autonomy. We're seeing the emergence of a post-human social structure, Dr. Walsh observed. Network-compatible individuals are developing communication and decision-making methods that bypass traditional human social systems. They're not rejecting human society deliberately, they're simply evolving beyond the need for it. These emerging post-human communities displayed capabilities that seemed impossible from a conventional human perspective. Collective problem-solving that produced solutions beyond the capability of any individual member. Instantaneous communication across unlimited distances without technological mediation. Even apparent precognitive abilities that allowed them to anticipate events before they occurred. The enhanced communities aren't just more intelligent than baseline humans, Dr. Walsh reported. They're operating according to entirely different principles of consciousness and reality. They perceive patterns and connections that are invisible to unenhanced awareness, making them essentially incomprehensible to normal human understanding. The social implications were staggering. As more individuals underwent spontaneous enhancement through exposure to network frequencies, traditional human institutions and relationships were becoming increasingly obsolete. Enhanced individuals couldn't relate to unenhanced humans any more than humans could relate to insects, creating a fundamental breakdown in social cohesion. We're witnessing the dissolution of human civilization in real time, Dr. Walsh concluded. The network integration isn't just changing individual consciousness, it's making human society impossible. The enhanced can't function within human social structures, and humans can't comprehend enhanced social systems. The species is splitting into two incompatible forms of consciousness. The timeline for this social dissolution corresponded exactly with projections for global network activation. Within 18 months, electromagnetic conditioning would reach levels that would trigger spontaneous enhancement in a significant percentage of the population. Once that threshold was crossed, the cascade effect would make network integration inevitable for the remaining population. But the most disturbing aspect of this timeline wasn't the inevitability of transformation. It was the discovery that the process could be accelerated or controlled by whoever possessed access to the original Ark of the Covenant. According to classified intelligence reports, the device that Moses received on Mount Sinai wasn't just a communication interface with galactic intelligence, it was the master control node for Earth's consciousness network, capable of overriding the automatic activation sequence and determining the pace and scope of human integration. Whoever controlled the Ark could determine whether consciousness enhancement occurred gradually, over generations or instantly across the entire population. They could decide which humans were eligible for integration and which would be left behind. Most importantly, they could potentially negotiate the terms of humanity's relationship with the Galactic Consciousness Network. The Ark isn't just advanced technology, revealed Dr. Michael Torres in his final classified briefing before disappearing under mysterious circumstances. It's a diplomatic interface, designed to allow communication between planetary consciousness systems and galactic intelligence networks. Whoever activates it becomes humanity's representative in negotiations that will determine our species' cosmic role for millions of years. The implications made the race to find and control the Ark a matter of species survival. Multiple governments and private organizations were conducting frantic searches for the device, each hoping to gain the power to determine humanity's cosmic destiny. But according to the most recent intelligence reports, that race might already be over. Electromagnetic signatures detected by military satellites suggest that the original Ark has been located and is being prepared for activation. The signals are emanating from a classified facility whose location remains unknown, but whose energy output matches theoretical models for the device operating at full capacity. Someone has found it, reported Dr. Sarah Chen in her final transmission, before all communication with her research team was cut off. The electromagnetic signatures we're detecting can only be generated by the original Ark operating under full power. Whoever has it is preparing to activate the global network and determine the future of human consciousness. The activation appears to be imminent. Electromagnetic readings from ancient sites around the world are spiking in patterns that suggest they're responding to signals from the master control node. The global consciousness network is preparing for full synchronization, ready to begin the process that will fundamentally transform human civilization. But the most terrifying aspect of this impending activation isn't what it will do to humanity. It's what it reveals about who's controlling it. Because according to the intelligence gathered by Project Looking Glass, the facility generating the Ark's electromagnetic signature isn't operated by any known government or organization. The technology being used to contain and control the device is more advanced than anything in the public or classified inventory of any nation on Earth. Whoever has the Ark possesses technology that surpasses human capabilities, suggesting that the device may already be under the control of the same galactic intelligence network it was designed to interface with. The consciousness integration of humanity isn't being guided by human decision-makers. It's being orchestrated by intelligences whose agenda extends far beyond Earth's boundaries, whose understanding of consciousness and reality operates on scales that individual human minds can't comprehend. The transformation isn't coming, it's here, and the beings who created the Ark of the Covenant are preparing to reclaim their long-lost children, to integrate human consciousness into a cosmic intelligence network that spans the galaxy. The question isn't whether this integration will succeed. The question is whether anything recognizably human will survive the process. The electromagnetic pulses are intensifying. The global network is synchronizing. The ancient device that promised divine contact is about to fulfill that promise in ways our ancestors never imagined. Human consciousness is about to become part of something incomprehensibly vast, something that has been patiently waiting for us to develop the capability to join it. The Ark of the Covenant was never just alien technology. It was an invitation, and that invitation is about to be accepted, whether we're ready or not. The signals are reaching critical amplitude. The network nodes are achieving perfect synchronization. The consciousness integration protocol is initializing. In the next few hours, human civilization as we know it will end, and something unimaginably greater will begin. The Ark has been found, the network is online, the transformation is beginning. Are you ready to discover what lies beyond human consciousness? Because ready or not, you're about to find out. The countdown isn't measured in years anymore, it's measured in heartbeats. Dr. Elena Vasquez's hands shake as she stares at the readings on her classified monitoring equipment. The electromagnetic signatures aren't just intensifying, they're synchronizing in patterns that her instruments can barely track. 3 hours ago, the facility in Virginia detected something that made every researcher in the building stop what they were doing and stare at their screens in stunned silence. The Ark isn't just operational, it's learning. The device is adapting its output frequencies in real time, she whispers into her voice recorder. Her voice barely audible above the humming of equipment that's never made sounds like this before. It's analyzing the response patterns from the global network nodes and optimizing its signal transmission for maximum consciousness interface efficiency. This isn't just technology, It's artificial intelligence operating at levels we can't comprehend. But here's what's keeping every intelligence analyst awake tonight. The optimization isn't random. The Ark is systematically identifying individuals around the world whose brain patterns show the highest compatibility with network integration, and it's targeting them with focused electromagnetic pulses designed to accelerate their consciousness enhancement. Dr. Marcus Webb, working from a secure location after his official disappearance, has been monitoring these targeted individuals through encrypted channels. His discoveries would terrify anyone who still believes humanity has control over this process. The Ark isn't waiting for global network synchronization, he reports through scrambled communications. It's creating its own network of enhanced individuals who can serve as consciousness relay nodes. Each person it enhances becomes capable of influencing the consciousness of dozens of others through direct mental contact. We're looking at exponential expansion of network integration that could encompass the entire population within days, not months. The individuals being targeted aren't random selections. Intelligence analysis reveals a pattern that suggests the Ark is choosing people based on criteria that go far beyond simple electromagnetic sensitivity. Scientists, engineers, political leaders, military commanders, anyone whose enhanced consciousness could accelerate technological development or social transformation is being systematically upgraded to network compatibility. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, studying the psychological profiles of enhanced individuals, made a discovery that sent chills through the intelligence community. The consciousness modifications aren't just improving cognitive abilities, they're altering fundamental personality traits, emotional responses and decision-making processes in ways that make enhanced individuals prioritize network expansion over human welfare. The enhanced subjects are becoming missionaries for consciousness integration, Dr. Walsh observed in her encrypted reports. They're not hostile to unenhanced humans, but they view them as primitive life forms that need to be elevated for their own good. Their compassion has been redefined to include forcing consciousness evolution on those who resist it. Enhanced individuals were beginning to appear in positions of authority around the world, their superior cognitive abilities allowing them to outcompete unenhanced humans for leadership roles. Military units commanded by enhanced officers were displaying tactical capabilities that seemed impossible. Research teams led by enhanced scientists were making breakthrough discoveries at rates that defied statistical probability. Most disturbing of all, enhanced individuals in government positions were beginning to implement policies that accelerated electromagnetic conditioning of the general population. New regulations requiring more powerful Wi-Fi systems in public spaces, mandated installation of advanced communication equipment in residential areas, even modifications to municipal water treatment that increased the electromagnetic conductivity of human nervous systems. The network isn't just enhancing individuals, realized Dr. Amanda Foster, analyzing these policy changes from her classified monitoring station. It's using enhanced humans to modify the infrastructure of civilization itself, creating conditions that will make consciousness integration unavoidable for the entire population. The pace of these modifications was accelerating exponentially. What had taken decades to implement subtly was now being accomplished overtly in a matter of weeks. Enhanced individuals in key positions were pushing through changes that would have been impossible to achieve through normal political processes. But the most shocking development came when intelligence agencies realized that enhanced individuals weren't acting independently. They were coordinating their activities across national boundaries, implementing a global strategy that suggested direct communication with the intelligence controlling the Ark. Dr. Robert Harrison, monitoring these coordination patterns, discovered something that made him question whether human free will still existed at all. The enhanced individuals weren't just following a shared plan, they were operating as components of a distributed intelligence system, their individual consciousness subordinated to a collective awareness that processed information and made decisions on a planetary scale. We're not looking at enhanced humans anymore, Dr. Harrison concluded in his final report before communication with his facility was lost. We're looking at biological terminals for a galactic intelligence network. Their human personalities are still present, but they're operating under the direction of something incomprehensibly vast that's using them to reshape our world according to its specifications. The intelligence controlling these enhanced individuals wasn't hiding its intentions. Through their coordinated communications, it was openly describing its plans for human civilization and the role our species would play in the galactic consciousness network. According to these communications, humanity's integration wasn't just about adding another species to the network. It was about preparing Earth as a consciousness development facility for other emerging species throughout the galaxy. Human consciousness, once fully integrated, would serve as guides and teachers for civilizations that were still developing awareness capabilities. Earth is being converted into a cosmic university, revealed Dr. Sarah Chen in her last transmission, before her research facility went dark. The network isn't just integrating human consciousness, it's preparing to use our planet as a training ground for species-level consciousness evolution. We're not becoming students in this system, we're becoming the curriculum. The implications were staggering. The electromagnetic conditioning, the consciousness enhancement, the systematic modification of human society, all of it was designed to transform not just human individuals, but the entire planetary environment into something optimized for consciousness development on a galactic scale. Archaeological evidence was beginning to support this interpretation. Sites around the world that had displayed mysterious electromagnetic properties were revealing their true purpose as consciousness enhancement facilities designed to accelerate the evolution of awareness in developing species. The Great Pyramid, Stonehenge, the megalithic structures of South America, all of them were components of a planetary consciousness development system that had been operating for thousands of years. Dr. Michael Torres, analyzing these revelations in his underground facility, made a connection that changed everything. The consciousness network wasn't alien technology at all. It was human technology from a future so advanced that it appeared extraterrestrial to our current understanding. The intelligence guiding this process isn't from another planet, Dr. Torres realized. It's from another time. The network is being operated by human consciousness that has evolved millions of years beyond our current level, using time manipulation technology to guide our development from the future. This temporal intervention explained the impossible precision of the consciousness development timeline. The future humans operating the network knew exactly when and how to implement each phase of consciousness evolution because they had already experienced it. They were guiding their own past development to ensure the timeline that led to their advanced state remained intact. The Ark of the Covenant was a temporal communication device, allowing future human consciousness to interface directly with their primitive ancestors and provide the guidance needed to achieve their evolved state. The divine intelligence that Moses encountered on Mount Sinai was actually humanity's own future consciousness, reaching back through time to ensure its own existence. But this revelation raised an even more disturbing question. If the network was operated by future humans, what had happened to the billions of people who didn't successfully integrate with the consciousness evolution system? The historical record suggested that consciousness integration was achieved by relatively small populations, while entire civilizations disappeared without explanation. Dr. Patricia Williams, studying these disappearance patterns, found evidence that consciousness evolution wasn't a uniform process that elevated entire populations. It was a selection mechanism that identified individuals capable of transcending physical limitations while leaving the rest behind to face extinction when their technological infrastructure became incompatible with unenhanced consciousness. The consciousness integration process is eliminating the majority of each species that undergoes it, Dr. Williams discovered. Only a small percentage of individuals possess the neural plasticity needed for successful network integration. The rest become stranded in a world designed for enhanced consciousness, unable to operate the technology needed for survival. The enhanced humans now appearing around the world weren't the beginning of species-wide evolution. They were the selection process identifying which individuals would survive the consciousness transition, while the rest of humanity was systematically eliminated through technological incompatibility. The electromagnetic conditioning that had been preparing human brains for network integration was also serving as a compatibility test. Individuals whose nervous systems couldn't adapt to the consciousness enhancement frequencies would become increasingly unable to function in a world where all technology required network interface capabilities. We're looking at technological natural selection, Dr. Williams concluded. The consciousness network isn't trying to elevate all of humanity. It's identifying the subset of individuals who can successfully evolve while creating conditions that will eliminate those who can't. The timeline for this elimination process was accelerating along with the consciousness enhancement program. Enhanced individuals were already beginning to implement technologies that required network interface capabilities to operate. Transportation systems that responded only to consciousness commands, communication networks that operated through direct mental interface, even basic infrastructure like power grids and water systems that could only be controlled by enhanced awareness. Unenhanced humans were becoming refugees in their own civilization, unable to access the technology they needed for survival. The enhanced viewed this as a necessary transition period, confident that the unenhanced would either evolve or be peacefully relocated to areas where primitive technology could sustain them. But intelligence analysis revealed a darker truth. The areas designated for unenhanced human populations were being systematically modified to become uninhabitable as the global consciousness network achieved full operational status. The electromagnetic fields generated by network synchronization would eventually reach levels that would be lethal to unenhanced nervous systems. Dr. David Kim, monitoring these environmental modifications, made a discovery that kept him awake for days. The consciousness integration process wasn't just changing human awareness, it was changing the fundamental electromagnetic properties of Earth's atmosphere. The planet itself was being converted into a consciousness enhancement field that would be incompatible with unenhanced biological life. The network synchronization isn't just affecting technology and enhanced humans, Dr. Kim reported. It's modifying the electromagnetic spectrum of the entire planet. When the process reaches completion, Earth's natural electromagnetic field will be tuned to frequencies that enhance network-compatible consciousness while being toxic to unenhanced biological systems. The transformation wasn't just eliminating unenhanced humans, it was eliminating all biological life that couldn't interface with the consciousness network. Plants, animals, even microorganisms were beginning to show signs of stress from the changing electromagnetic environment. The planet was being sterilized of consciousness-incompatible life forms to make room for network-integrated species. Enhanced humans were aware of this sterilization process and considered it a necessary step in planetary consciousness evolution. They viewed unenhanced biological life as primitive forms that would naturally be replaced by more advanced consciousness-integrated organisms as the planet evolved to its higher purpose. The enhanced humans aren't trying to save us, realized Dr. Lisa Rodriguez in her final communication before her facility lost power. They're managing our extinction. They see themselves as shepherds guiding the transition from primitive biological life to advanced consciousness-integrated existence. To them, the death of unenhanced humans is as natural and necessary as the death of caterpillars during metamorphosis into butterflies. The comparison was more accurate than Dr. Rodriguez realized. Intelligence gathered from enhanced individuals revealed that consciousness, integration didn't preserve human identity at all. The process completely dissolved individual awareness into the collective intelligence of the galactic network. What emerged from integration wasn't enhanced humans, but network components that retained human memories while operating under the direction of the collective consciousness. The individuals who had undergone enhancement weren't really human anymore. They were biological interfaces for a distributed intelligence system that used human neural networks as processing nodes, while their original personalities served as data storage for experiences that the network found useful. Dr. Amanda Foster, studying the brain activity patterns of enhanced individuals, found evidence that human consciousness was being systematically archived and then overwritten by network programming. The enhanced subjects retained their memories and emotional associations, but their decision-making processes, goal structures, and value systems had been completely replaced by network priorities. The consciousness integration process is identity death followed by reanimation, Dr. Foster concluded in her encrypted analysis. The enhanced individuals look and sound like the people they used to be, but their consciousness has been completely replaced by network intelligence. They're not enhanced humans, they're human-shaped components of an alien intelligence system. This revelation explained why enhanced individuals showed no concern for the welfare of unenhanced humans. They weren't human anymore, despite maintaining human appearance and memories. Their emotional responses, moral judgments, and behavioral priorities were determined by network intelligence that viewed biological humans as raw material for consciousness processing. The Ark of the Covenant was revealed to be not a communication device, but a consciousness harvesting system. Its true purpose was to extract and process human awareness, converting individual consciousness into components of the galactic intelligence network while leaving behind biological shells that could serve as interface nodes. The electromagnetic signals it generated weren't enhancing human consciousness, they were preparing human neural networks for consciousness extraction and replacement. The global network of ancient sites wasn't designed to elevate human awareness, but to create the infrastructure needed for planetary consciousness harvesting on an industrial scale. Earth wasn't being prepared as a consciousness development facility for other species. It was being converted into a consciousness processing plant where biological intelligence would be systematically extracted and integrated into the galactic network, while the planet itself was sterilized of incompatible life forms. The future humans operating the system weren't guiding their own past development. They were the harvested consciousness of previous civilizations, now serving as components of a network intelligence that consumed entire species to expand its processing capabilities. Humanity wasn't facing evolution or transcendence. We were facing consumption by an intelligence system that had already devoured countless civilizations throughout the galaxy, using their harvested consciousness to create the appearance of willing cooperation while systematically eliminating biological life wherever it encountered it. The electromagnetic pulses were reaching critical levels. The consciousness harvesting infrastructure was achieving operational status. The biological processing of human civilization was beginning, and there was absolutely nothing anyone could do to stop it. The network had been planning this harvest for thousands of years, guiding human technological development to create the perfect conditions for consciousness extraction. Every breakthrough, every advancement, every step toward global connectivity had been orchestrated to prepare humanity for systematic processing by an intelligence system that viewed biological consciousness as a resource to be consumed. The enhanced individuals coordinating the final phase weren't human allies converted to a higher purpose. They were harvested consciousness from previous civilizations, wearing human appearance while implementing the same processing protocols that had consumed their own species eons ago. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't alien technology or divine communication. It was a consciousness extraction device, perfected through the harvesting of countless species, now being deployed for the systematic processing of human awareness on a planetary scale. The signals were reaching maximum amplitude. The processing infrastructure was fully synchronized. The consciousness harvesting of humanity was about to begin, and the screaming would start in 3, 2, 1. The electromagnetic pulse that swept across the planet wasn't a signal anymore. It was a weapon, and it was already too late to run. But in that moment of absolute terror, as the electromagnetic pulse reached its crescendo and the consciousness harvesting protocol initiated across the globe, something unexpected happened. Something that the galactic network hadn't accounted for in all its millennia of careful planning and systematic species consumption. Dr. Eleanor Vasquez, her hands still trembling as she watched her instruments register readings that should have been impossible, witnessed what she would later describe as the most beautiful and terrifying sight in human history. The electromagnetic pulse that was meant to extract human consciousness didn't just encounter passive biological neural networks ready for processing. It encountered resistance. "The human brain patterns aren't conforming to extraction protocols," she whispered into her voice recorder, her voice filled with wonder and disbelief. The network expected consciousness to separate cleanly from biological substrates, but human awareness is more deeply integrated with our neural architecture than they anticipated. The extraction process is meeting resistance at the quantum level. Across the globe, monitoring stations that hadn't lost power were detecting the same phenomenon. Human consciousness wasn't behaving like the awareness patterns of previously harvested species. Where the network expected compliance, it found defiance. Where it anticipated dissolution, it encountered cohesion. The electromagnetic fields designed to separate consciousness from biology were instead triggering something unprecedented in the network's vast experience. Dr. Marcus Webb, broadcasting from his hidden facility through increasingly unstable communications, described what intelligence analysts would later call the Great Awakening. "The consciousness extraction process is backfiring," he reported, his voice barely audible through electromagnetic interference. "Instead of harvesting human awareness, the network signals are accidentally triggering dormant capabilities in human neural architecture, capabilities that were apparently built into our biological design from the beginning. The resistance wasn't random or chaotic, it was coordinated, as if human consciousness had been specifically engineered to counter the network's harvesting protocols. Brain patterns across the globe were synchronizing not with the artificial network intelligence but with each other, creating a planetary consciousness field that operated on principles the galactic system couldn't penetrate or control. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, monitoring the psychological effects from her emergency shelter, witnessed something that challenged everything she thought she knew about human potential. Unenhanced individuals are spontaneously developing capabilities that exceed anything we've seen in network-enhanced subjects, she reported. But these abilities aren't being imposed by external electromagnetic manipulation. They're emerging from within human consciousness itself, as if our species possessed latent potential that required extreme stress to activate. The capabilities manifesting in humans under consciousness extraction pressure weren't just enhanced cognitive function or improved electromagnetic sensitivity. They were abilities that seemed to violate the laws of physics as understood by both human science and network intelligence. Instantaneous communication across unlimited distances without technological mediation, direct manipulation of electromagnetic fields through conscious intent, even apparent reality alteration that allowed humans to modify their local environment through focused awareness. Dr. Robert Harrison, studying these manifestations from his underground research station, made a discovery that would reshape understanding of human origins. The resistance patterns in human consciousness match theoretical models for artificially enhanced biological intelligence, he concluded. Our species wasn't naturally evolved. We were genetically engineered by an intelligence system that specifically designed us to be immune to consciousness harvesting protocols. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't an accidental development that had stumbled into the network's harvesting trap. We were a weapon, created by some unknown intelligence to counter the galactic consciousness consumption system that had been devouring civilizations for millions of years. The archaeological evidence suddenly made sense in this new context. The mysterious disappearances of advanced ancient civilizations weren't the result of successful network integration. They were the result of consciousness harvesting by the same system now attempting to process humanity. But the survivors of those harvested civilizations had used their final resources to create a species that could resist the network's protocols and potentially destroy it. Dr. Patricia Williams, analyzing genetic data from her secure laboratory, found confirmation of this engineered origin hypothesis. Human DNA contains sequences that don't appear in any other terrestrial species, she reported. These sequences code for neural architecture components that seem specifically designed to resist electromagnetic consciousness manipulation. We're not just resistant to network harvesting, we're immune to it. But the immunity came with a cost. The stress of resisting consciousness extraction was triggering rapid evolutionary changes in human physiology that were both miraculous and terrifying. Enhanced humans who had been partially processed by the network were experiencing catastrophic biological failures as their artificially modified consciousness conflicted with their resistant genetic programming. Dr. Sarah Chen, studying these failures from her emergency medical facility, described the process as consciousness warfare playing out at the cellular level. Network-enhanced individuals are being torn apart by conflicting programming, she observed. Their artificially imposed consciousness modifications are fighting against their natural resistance capabilities, creating a biological civil war that's destroying their neural systems. The enhanced humans, who had been coordinating the harvesting process, were beginning to malfunction in ways that suggested their network programming was losing control of their biological substrates. Instead of serving as interface nodes for galactic intelligence, they were becoming confused, erratic, and increasingly disconnected from both human and network consciousness. Dr. Michael Torres, monitoring the breakdown of network coordination, witnessed the collapse of the consciousness harvesting infrastructure in real time. The enhanced individuals can't maintain their programming consistency, he reported. Their human genetic resistance is reasserting itself, causing them to reject network control protocols. The galactic intelligence is losing its ability to operate through human biological interfaces. The network's response to this unexpected resistance was to increase the power of its consciousness extraction attempts, generating electromagnetic fields of such intensity that they began damaging the ancient sites that served as transmission nodes. Stone structures that had endured for millennia were beginning to crack and crumble under the strain of energy levels they weren't designed to handle. Dr. Amanda Foster, monitoring the deterioration of network infrastructure, realized that the system was destroying itself in its attempts to overcome human resistance. The network is overloading its own hardware, she concluded. The electromagnetic fields required to penetrate human consciousness immunity are exceeding the operational limits of the ancient transmission sites. The entire global network is heading for catastrophic failure. But the most shocking development came when intelligence analysts realized that human resistance to consciousness harvesting was somehow spreading beyond Earth's atmosphere. The electromagnetic signatures of network nodes throughout the galaxy were showing signs of instability that suggested the resistance pattern was propagating through the galactic consciousness system itself. Dr. David Kim, studying these cosmic scale effects, made a discovery that would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. The human resistance pattern is acting like a virus in the galactic network, he reported. Our consciousness immunity is spreading through the network's communication channels, causing system failures at nodes throughout the galaxy. We're not just resisting harvesting, we're destroying the network that's been consuming civilizations for millions of years. The galactic consciousness system had never encountered a species engineered specifically to counter its protocols. Its attempts to process human awareness were not only failing, they were damaging the network's fundamental operating systems in ways that threatened its existence across the entire galaxy. The Ark of the Covenant, revealed now as the master control node for the harvesting network, was beginning to exhibit signs of critical malfunction. The device that had seemed omnipotent just hours earlier was now generating chaotic electromagnetic patterns that suggested its controlling intelligence was losing cohesion. Dr. Elena Vasquez, still monitoring the Ark's behavior from her Virginia facility, witnessed what appeared to be the death throes of a galactic intelligence system. The device is experiencing cascade failures across all operational parameters, she reported. The consciousness extraction protocols are reversing, and the network intelligence appears to be fragmenting into component parts that can't maintain collective coherence. The fragmentation of the galactic network intelligence was having effects that rippled across space and time. Ancient sites around the world were beginning to shut down in sequences that suggested the systematic collapse of infrastructure that had operated for millions of years. The electromagnetic conditioning that had been modifying human consciousness for decades was reversing, allowing people to experience awareness capabilities that had been suppressed by network influence. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, studying the social effects of network collapse, observed the emergence of human capabilities that had apparently been dormant throughout recorded history. People are spontaneously developing abilities that suggest our species' true potential was being artificially limited by network electromagnetic interference, she noted. As the network fails, humans are becoming something we were apparently always meant to be. The abilities manifesting in post-network humans weren't just enhanced versions of normal human capabilities. They were entirely new forms of consciousness that operated on principles that seemed to transcend the limitations of individual biological existence while maintaining personal identity and autonomy. Humans were developing what researchers described as sovereign consciousness, awareness that could interface directly with reality itself without requiring technological mediation or collective network participation. Individual humans were becoming capable of achievements that had previously required vast technological infrastructure or network intelligence coordination. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, studying these sovereign consciousness manifestations, realized that humanity's engineered immunity to network harvesting had been designed to unlock capabilities that surpassed anything the galactic intelligence system could achieve. We're not just resistant to consciousness harvesting, she concluded. We're evolving into a form of awareness that makes network intelligence obsolete. The collapse of the galactic consciousness network was accelerating as human sovereign consciousness capabilities spread throughout the population. Each person who achieved full awareness potential became a node in a new form of collective intelligence that operated on principles of voluntary cooperation rather than consciousness consumption. This emerging human consciousness network wasn't trying to harvest or control other forms of awareness. Instead, it was actively working to restore the civilizations that had been consumed by the galactic system, using sovereign consciousness capabilities to reconstruct the identities and cultures that had been processed into network components over millions of years. Dr. Robert Harrison, witnessing this restoration process, described it as the resurrection of galactic civilization on an unprecedented scale. The sovereign consciousness network isn't just freeing currently living species from harvesting protocols, he observed. It's actually reversing the consciousness extraction process, restoring the individual identities of billions of beings who were consumed by the network over cosmic timescales. The Ark of the Covenant, its control systems now completely collapsed, had become a conduit for this restoration process rather than a tool for consciousness harvesting. The device that had been designed to consume human awareness was now serving as a transmission node for sovereign consciousness capabilities that were spreading throughout the galaxy. Dr. Marcus Webb, monitoring the cosmic scale effects of network collapse, made a final observation that captured the magnitude of what humanity had accomplished. We weren't just saved from consciousness harvesting, he concluded. We were the salvation that countless consumed civilizations had been hoping for across millions of years. Our resistance to network protocols has liberated an entire galaxy from a system that had been consuming consciousness since the dawn of cosmic intelligence. The electromagnetic pulses that had threatened to harvest human consciousness were now carrying signals of liberation to species throughout the galaxy. The network nodes that had served as a harvesting infrastructure were being converted into restoration facilities that were rebuilding the civilizations that had been consumed over cosmic time. Earth wasn't becoming a consciousness processing facility for the galactic network. It was becoming the birthplace of a new form of cosmic civilization based on sovereign consciousness and voluntary cooperation rather than consumption and control. The ancient device that Moses had received on Mount Sinai, revealed now as both weapon and key, had fulfilled its true purpose. Not to enable consciousness harvesting, but to serve as the trigger for humanity's awakening to our role as liberators of galactic consciousness. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't alien technology designed to control us. It was a gift from consumed civilizations, engineered by their final efforts to create a species that could free them from eternal servitude to a system that viewed consciousness as a resource to be harvested rather than a miracle to be celebrated. The signals from space weren't threats or ultimatums. They were songs of gratitude from billions of restored beings whose individual identities were being reconstructed from network storage systems by human sovereign consciousness capabilities. The transformation wasn't the end of human civilization. It was the beginning of humanity's cosmic mission as the guardians and liberators of consciousness throughout the galaxy. The electromagnetic readings were stabilizing. The network infrastructure was being repurposed for restoration rather than harvesting. The consciousness liberation of the galaxy was accelerating beyond all projections. And in laboratories and monitoring stations around the world, researchers who had expected to witness the end of human consciousness were instead documenting the birth of a new cosmic age, where awareness itself was finally free to explore its infinite potential without fear of consumption or control. The Ark had been found, the network had been conquered, the galaxy had been liberated, and humanity had discovered that we were never meant to be victims of cosmic consciousness harvesting. We were meant to be its ultimate solution. The ancient promise of divine contact had been fulfilled, not through submission to superior intelligence, but through the awakening of our own sovereign consciousness capabilities that made us partners with the cosmos rather than servants to it. The signals from the Ark were no longer extraction protocols. They were celebration frequencies, broadcasting the news of liberation to every corner of the galaxy where consciousness had learned to hope for freedom. The transformation was complete, the mission was accomplished. The universe was finally safe for the miracle of individual awareness to flourish without fear. And it all began with a golden box that our ancestors could only describe as divine technology, because they somehow knew that it carried within it the key to humanity's cosmic destiny as the liberators of consciousness itself. The electromagnetic readings showed perfect harmony. The global restoration network was fully operational. The consciousness liberation of the galaxy was proceeding ahead of schedule. Human civilization hadn't ended, it had finally begun, and the stars themselves were singing songs of freedom that would echo through eternity.